Hi y'all, welcome back. This is going to be a tutorial on the God Bless America triple stand panel. It's going to be the one that says bless on it, which would be the middle panel. So let me turn this around. So this is one we're going to be doing. It has the fireworks in it and it says bless that I. So it's God bless America, land that I love is what the three panels will be. All right, so let's get started. Now I'm doing this on a 6x10 Durkee sticky back hoop, but I'm using it with regular stabilizer, and I'm using these super clips on it to hold the stabilizer in place, and it works great. And I've got a video that shows you how to do that if you have a Durkee hoop and didn't know you could do this. All right, so let me get over to where it says embroidery, and the first color stop is going to stitch a placement stitch. Now this is going to be for your batting and your whatever you're going to use to give your panel a little stiffness, a little stability, and not just use batting. Batting would be just a little bit probably too light unless you use fusible interfacing, like what Gloria Horn uses on a lot of her projects. So I'm going to be using Decobond, and you can use the fusible interfacing if you want, or the fusible batting, whatever it's called. I think she uses fusible batting. I have some up there, but I'm going to save it for my table runners. So let me bring this down so I can line this up. I don't want to use any more than I have to, so I want this up just above that top line that's stitched. I think you can see it around here, and I want it just above. And I have a long piece here that I cut, and I don't want to have to keep cutting it down to size when I can just do this. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to try to center that. Okay. Stick it back in there. And color stop number 2 is going to tack this down. Since probably a lot of people will use that fusible batting or whatever it's called that has a little bit of a loft to it, fusible, it's not just fusible interfacing. I don't think that's what it's called. And I've never ordered any from her, so I can't even look it up to see what it's. I guess I can get on her site and look it up. But to me, it looks kind of like batting. All right, so that has finished stitching. I'm going to pull this back. And I'm going to trim this. And I'm going to use these Fomore applique scissors. It has a little crook on it. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, or maybe it's better that way, yeah. And it just has the little crook on the handle. And whatever you do, don't use these little snips that you get from Fomore. These are to cut thread. I complained to Brent, who is the owner of Fomore, a couple years ago, the last time he was at the quilt show, that these didn't hold their edge very well. And he said, "You're kidding." I said, "Yeah, you know, I use it to cut around the fabric because it gets up so close." And he went, "Whoa, whoa. You use these to cut fabric?" And I said, "Yeah." He went, "No, no, 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 no. These are for thread, and thread only, not fabric." So I learned my lesson. So I bought a another pair that year, and this is what he suggested I use. Or one of the other applique scissors. There's one like this that has this kind of a neck. There's the duck bills. You know, these are all the ones that he suggested. And I like these because they would get over my regular hoops. Over here for the time being. Okay, so you want to trim back your deco bond to the stitch line. And sorry, I've got my TV on. I'm watching Transformers, or listening to it, if you will. Now, so we're just going to trim around this. And I prefer trimming if I have two different things that I'm going to have to trim. In this case, we have this deco bond, and then I'll put batting on top of this. I like to do it separately. All right, so now I'm going to take my batting and put it on top of this. But we have to, in order to stitch it down, because I only have 2 color stops for whatever you're going to put here, and I'm assuming that most people will use that fusible batting or whatever it's called. I don't use it, and I don't have any, so I'm doing it this way. All right, so I did the placement stitch, and then I put the deco bond down, and I did the tack down, which is step 1 and 2. So I'm going to back up to step 3, because I'm not going to go there yet. All right, so I'm going to back up to step number 2, rather. And it's going to tack all this down, all this batting down. I just kind of smooth it, because usually I will iron my batting, but you don't have to. You just want enough overlap on the lines, the placement lines or the tack down lines. All right. All right. So I'm going to trim this. I'll be right back. All right. I trimmed my batting. So on this particular set, I've decided not to have the 2 different fabrics. Hang on, I'll show you. All right, so when I designed these triple display stands, I designed it so there'd be a different color fabric up here than down here. So my design is still that way, and to get around that, if you want to use one piece of fabric, we're going to skip the steps that create this up here, which is steps 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to skip those. So after you tack down your batting, you need to put your fabric down. So in order to do that, we're going to back up to step number 2 again. We're going to put our fabric down. And you don't have to overlap the top much. Okay. So I just cut, because there's 3 of these panels, I just cut 1 length of fabric instead of cutting 3 pieces. And this is a little oversized. I cut this 8.5. I think you can get by with maybe 7.5 or 8 at the minimum. 8. Okay, 7.5 or 8. Let's see what this measurement is here. I don't remember. Okay, so this is 6 inches wide, and you need at least an inch on either side. So let's say inch, yeah, an inch on each side, which means you're going to cut it 8 inches wide minimum. If you cut it 7.5, you're going to have, well, you'd have enough room with 7.5. You'd have plenty to get you by. So somewhere between 7.5 and 8 is what you're going to, the width you're going to use on your fabric. All right, so I'm going to put this back on. All right, so I've backed up to step number 2, and I'm going to tack this down because I'm using a whole piece, and instead of having a different top up there than what the bottom is, I'm just going to use one piece of fabric. All right, so I've backed up to step number 2 to tack my fabric down. So we're going to skip. Now it's on step number 3 that this has happened because we went backwards. So we're on step number 3. We don't want to put the piece of fabric up here or down here, so we're going to skip step number 3. We're going to skip that. We're going to skip 4. We're going to skip 5. And we're going to go to step number 7. All right, so you'll want to change your thread color. This is to stitch the wavy lines, the wavy decorative fill lines, and you want to use whatever color you use. You want it to use the lightest shade, and I'm going to use a very light silver. All right, so I am using a really, really light shade of silver. Do I have a bobbin that has it in? I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a really light shade of silver to do these wavy lines. If you wanted, you could use a really, 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 really light shade of blue, a really, really pale, pale, pale blue. But I'm going to use the silver. So it's going to do up here at the top because it would have been doing the panel piece up here, and then it'll do down here. So remember, these decorative fills, I don't have a lot of control what it does. It does stitch over it at least twice. That's why you want to use a light color, because it will get darker as it stitches. So it leaves out, it cuts out when you have text, it cuts out the text. So this is not an actual outline of the word bless. It is like a highlight, I guess you could say, because it'll come back and satin stitch the letters inside that cutout. So I want you to see how it does this first part, and then I'll continue on with the other part because it does take it a little while. doing the L, the cutout for the L, and it's going around what would be where the B, the letter B stitches. And doing those wavy lines. Well, at some point it'll come back in there and do the wavy lines. See how it goes back over it? I don't have a way to stop that. I wish I did. So it does around the whole perimeter of the area that you tell it you want this fill in. Now, I'm sure it's going to go in and do the little cutouts for the B. Well, I was wrong. Okay. All right, so now it's going to do all this area down here. So normally you would have a different color fabric up here and a different color fabric down here. But this is how you can use it, just using one piece of fabric. This is finishing up the decorative fill, and it always goes all the way around at the end. Nothing I can do about it. Alright, that's the second clip that's come off. Sorry, I don't mean to make you sick. So if you're using the Durkee hoops with this, I'm just going to stick another clip on here. I think some of the moving around, I don't think it's scratching the bed, but some of the moving around makes that every now and then. I didn't have that a little while ago when I stitched the other panel. But just keep it handy if you're using the sticky hoop with stabilizer. Okay. Well, I don't know why it's coming back down here. Like I said, it does some stuff all on its own that I can't control. And I can't remove it. It did a star. So these are the cutouts for the stars that I guess it's doing, and the little swirly things. I don't know why it's not connecting them. I thought it was done. Shoot. Okay, yep, these sections I can't control. It's going to do another star there, yeah. I'll be back when it's finished. Now, this is not known as an edge-to-edge design. And anyway, it is a decorative fill. And I wish I could change some of this that's going on right now. Well, I think it's just about finished. Yep. Okay, so now it's going to do the satin stitch line across here that separates the top from the bottom. Alright, so I have my red thread in, and it's going to do the satin stitch line across here. Here goes another clip. I'm going to have to be searching all over this room for my clips. Alright, so I'll be back when this is done. I can't tell you the number of times I've used this 6x10 Durkee hoop to just like I am now, and I've not had this many clips pop off. I'll be back when this is done. Alright, color stop 8, or the satin stitch is finished. This decorative fill was color stop number 7. Now I need to change to blue for color stop 9, which is going to stitch bless, the word bless. And I'll be right back. So the text is done in a satin fill. I'll let that be finished so you can see it. It's going to come in and, yeah, when it does that, it creates the inside of the bee. Alright, I'll be back when it finishes stitching out the word bless. Alright, now we are going to put in the red to do the red stars, or we could skip down and do the blue stars. Let me see. We have blue in, let's just do that. I skipped down to do the blue stars. Oops, and that came out. So this is color stop 11. When this blue is finished, we're going to have to go back up and do the red at color stop 10, and I'll rearrange it in the file so it will stitch the blue and then the red. So it'll do stars and then these little, I don't know what they are, bursts. Oh, that didn't sound good. Nope. Okay, let me fix that. All right, my thread got hung up here. Alright, so these are the little starburst. And it'll go around and do all the stars and the starbursts. And then we'll come back and back up, and while it's doing this, I'm going to go fix the file. Alright, I went to the file and had the blue stitch right after bless. It's in a different color of blue in case you want to change the blue color. All right. All right, I have changed my thread to red, and we're going to stitch this. And suck that thread down in there and started making a racket. Yeah, I need to cut that and fix it. There. All right, I had something wound up wrong. No, it's still. No, it's still. Oh, for crying out loud. So I guess it was time to clean out the bobbin. Bobbin case, I should say. Alright, so it's doing the red, and like I said, I went in and I made the changes. I changed these blue pieces to a different color blue from this, in case you wanted to put them in some other color, yellow or green or whatever. And now it's doing the red. So I'll be back when the red is done. Alright, so I finished all the red stars and burst and all that. Color stop number 12 is stitching the text for that I. That I. That's what color stop 12 does. So far it's doing really well. And I'll be back when it finishes stitching this text. Alright, so all the embroidery has finished and I need to trim back this fabric. I'm just using my applique scissors. I hold the fabric vertical and it helps to get it fairly close.
That's how restaurants at the highest level operate. These are the scribblings of a mad woman. It's not perfect, it doesn't work. Why are you doing this? We're gonna get started.
Okay. And up here.
Viewer discretion advised.
And there we go. Alright, so color stop number 10 is going to stitch up at the top here as a guide for the placement of your tabs. Now, I've used fabric. I've cut those up, and there's a video at the beginning that explains how to do it, of the guide panel. And then I'm going to, these are 2.5 inches long. They were 4 inches wide. I folded it in half this way and cut the 2.5 inch segments. And I'm going to fold those in half. And I'm going to use the guidelines to place them. I don't think I put it far enough. Yeah, I didn't. Alright, so I'm going to use the top of it just to place the top of the tab. And I tape it in place. So the tabs are 1/4 inch high, and that helps you align the raw edge of the tab at the top. All right. And I'm going to take that down. I think I got a little too much. Okay, so I'm going to take the other one, I'm going to fold it in half, raw edges together, and I think I'm going to take this out so I can look straight down. I just want the raw edge to be up there. Let's see, did I put this? All right, so put the right hand edge of this one right along that, or just barely over the other edge. Okay, and then make sure that you've aligned the raw edges at the top with the top of those guides. All right, so I'm going to make sure this is folded in half. I'm gonna overlap this side just a tiny little bit, like 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to make sure that my raw edges at the top up here are aligned with the little tab marks. Okay, put this on here to hold it. And get me some tape. Double check to make sure it didn't slip. That one's okay, and that one's okay. I'm going to take that down. Okay, and I'm going to let the machine tack that down. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that those are aligned at the bottom. Let's see. I believe those are fine. So I'm using one of the marks on my ruler here to align those up. So I align it with the red satin stitch to see that it comes right down to the edge of the ruler. And that way I know they're the same, sitting in the same place. All right, so I'm going to slow my machine down so that I can use my chopsticks and not get hung up in there. So color stop number, doesn't like the chopsticks. Color stop number 14. 14 of 16. It will stitch across the top of these tabs, and you want to make sure that your tabs don't get hung up on the foot. So I'm just going to use the chopstick to help hold that down. Whoa, 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 whoa. Stop. Open that up. There we go. I'm going to hold that down. There we go. All right, so it tacks that down. Alright, so be careful when you take that tape off of there. And you want to make sure you don't pull that tab at all. Now I need to cut the pieces that will make the back, the envelope, like a mug rug. Alright, I've cut 2 pieces of fabric for the back. I'm going to fold them pretty sides out. I've cut it 8, whoops, let's see, what did I cut it? 7.5, okay, which will give me about 1 inch on either side of the panel. And I'm going to fold it in half. I've cut it lengthwise. I've cut it 10.5 inches. So it's 7.5 by 10.5. 7.5 by 10.5. I'm going to take the first piece and I'm going to put it right over into at the top of the tabs. So it's going to go over half of the panel. Take my other side, fold it pretty sides out. I've got the folded edge here. So I'm going to take this folded edge, I'm going to overlap the other one and make sure I have at least, the seam is going to go right, excuse me, right along here. So I'm going to make sure I have just enough. I have an overlap here. You can see how much I have an overlap. I'm over on the seam here, so lift this up just a teensy bit and come down. All right, so I think I'm pretty well situated as far as getting it centered on here. So I'm going to tape this now so it doesn't move. I need some smaller tape. Let's see if I tear this in half. Will that work? I hate wasting all that tape. So I'm going to tape this down. I'm going to tape this down. I'm going to put this from the top. I'm going to put the top one over the bottom one like that. And I'm going to tape this right along the edge. Okay, so that's going to keep, it's going to sew this way. So this one you won't have any problems with, but when it comes back around here, you've got to make sure that this doesn't flip over. All right, so let me go back to the sewing machine. Oh, I'm going to change threads. All right, so I have white thread in my machine, and I'm on the first color stop number 15 is going to just stitch a regular straight stitch. So I have my machine slowed down so that I can have a little bit more control. So far, this is where we're going to have a little time. We'll have to really be careful. You're going to hold that down. This is why you want to have at least an inch outside your stitch area so that you are able to control that flap right there. All right, so the last color stop, number 16, is going to stitch a triple stitch all the way around. And I'm going to go and speed that up back to the 600. I'll be right back. All right, so it's finished. So now all we have to do is go over and take off the clips and trim this a 1/4 inch outside around these edges and cut across diagonally on the top edges and fold it inside out. All right, so I'm at the cutting table. I've taken my project out of the hoop, and I'm going to line up my 1/4 inch mark on my ruler with the outside line and trim that off. I'm going to go all the way around. Doing the same thing all the way around. Just lining it up with my 1/4 inch out, with my outside seam. My 1/4 inch goes on the outside seam, and I cut it off. So I have a 1/4 inch seam all along the outside. Oh, I didn't quite get that cut off. Alright. Get rid of this. And I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to curve around at the bottom. Just go off the edge and start curving and curve into that edge. And I'll just turn it around, go off the edge and start curving into that bottom edge. Now I'm going to take and go straight across there and straight across there. Now I want to reach in and poke this top corner out. Where's my chopstick? Okay, so I can poke this out, poke this other side out.
Like the 2x2x2 at IHOP. 2 eggs your way, 2 bacon strips, and 2 buttermilk pancakes. Monday through Friday, all for $6.
I'm Anthony Mackie. I'm on a quest to find out why these apex predators are swiping fishermen's catches.
Keep turning. Now we'll go to this side. My finger in this corner. Turn that. My finger in this corner. Push that out. Use my chopstick to push those corners out. And finish pulling that around. And rolling those edges back around. And there we go. Now, where's the other one? I think the other one's probably going to be a little bit smaller because I ended up having to do it by hand. Yeah, so I'm going to do this over again, but it'll get you, and I did the tabs wrong over here. I cut them wrong. So I'm going to do this block again, but that's what it'll look like. Let me press that. All right, so there is the center panel. This will be the first panel that'll go on this, and it hangs right above this line. I had an issue with this block, and so it has since been corrected on all 3 of the blocks that go for this God Bless America, which will be the 3rd one. And I'm going to redo this one, and it'll hang right above. So I hope you enjoy, and thanks for watching.